The following podcast is recorded and produced by the Podcast Precinct in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com. The Podcast Precinct. Consistency, creativity, culture.
The Nostalgia Funhouse proudly dedicates all episodes in the loving memory of Connie Chirac. So, Johnny, I've been hearing really great things about this Nostalgia Funhouse. It just brings back so many great memories.
Andrew, another reason I'm getting in line with you here is that you really vouched for this show. So I'm just going to believe you that this is the show that, I've been wanting, which is just talking about all the fun stuff from our yesteryear and the years before. And I really hate anything meta. So I'm glad that what we're doing right now is not that.
Oh, no, definitely. What is meta? Isn't that Ron Artesta's new name?
Well, add World and Peace to it, sure.
Yeah, but this is great. They last year they were tearing play sets and Halloween costumes.
Well, that sounds cool.
They get these weird court recordings from pop culture courts.
Does anybody care about court cases?
These ones are kind of cool. They put Scott Kelvin on trial. Poor old Santa Claus there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, man. You know what's the best part about this is though? Is I hear they always got a really great sponsor. You can check it out right there.
In a mystical world of good and evil, in a wondrous realm of fantasy and adventure, journey to another time, another place. Join in the struggle to possess the Dark Crystal. Rated PG. Starts Friday at a theater near you. Check newspapers for local details.
Hello, welcome to the Nostalgia Funhouse, and we continue on with our Jim Henson month. I'm Johnny, and I'm going to welcome in my guest for this evening.
Your guest, yeah. This used to be one podcast where it was my podcast, and then Johnny was like, "Oh, I'll be your co-host." And I was like, "I'll change the name," and then all of a sudden, Johnny is now just the host.
Yeah, so that's Andrew. It was his show. And then like mold, I've grown into it, and who knows what's going to happen. Probably nothing good. But we're doing
everything's going to be great.
I think so. Yeah. The world's just fine outside of here, so everything's just okay. But this is Jim Henson month. What are we talking about today, Andrew?
The Dark Crystal. This is his first major motion picture outside of the Muppets, kind of his creation in his head and comes to life. All puppets except for I think maybe 2 or 3 scenes where there's a child that does a couple of parts.
Yeah, which makes sense. And when it was when the camera pans out and it's a far away sight where you see the character walking, and that makes sense for that to be a little child. It's probably easier to shoot it that way.
Shoot the child.
Yeah, shoot the child.
Shoot.
I'm a Jedi. I do bad things.
Do you want the child? Do you want to go home, Johnny? This movie was released December 17, 1982, with a budget of $25 million and box office drawings of $41.4 million.
They were definitely expecting more out of it.
Yeah, I could see with all the really great just practical effects, but it's become
we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Andrew, first question though. I was trying to think back when the last time I actually saw this movie was. I want to say I was maybe 10 at the oldest.
Oh, okay. So I saw it maybe 2019, 2020, I want to say. My son wanted to watch it, my oldest son, so we put it into, I almost had popped it in like I had a VHS tape.
You can put the VCR. Yeah.
No, but found it on a streaming service and watched it. He rather enjoyed it. I was like, wow. Last time before that, I was probably 4 years old, 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah, it's literally been at least 30 years since I've seen this. When I was a kid, I really liked this movie.
Yes.
Do I like it now? Let's find out. This may be a pretty difficult conversation for me
So
to have.
pretty,
If I was talking to the child Johnny, I'd probably be having an argument.
pretty much the short story on this is that there was a great, I don't even want to say this word because of the acolyte, it reminds me of something else. There was a great conjunction. So there was a dark crystal, it cracked, and it kind of, and then two beings came, two races, I guess you could say, came to be the Skeksis, who were evil and cruel, and then the Mystics that were very nice and meek and mild. Uh, during
It's
this,
almost like people being split in two,
yeah, I didn't want
but
to say it.
they're the same person.
Didn't want to say anything yet. So,
That's never been done before.
uh, so there is one Gelfling left to help fulfill a prophecy here.
Or is there?
And he lives with the mystics, and the master is dying, and he instructs Jen, the Gelfling, that he must fulfill the prophecy and go see Algra to get the missing piece of the dark crystal.
Yeah, there's a prophecy that a Gelfling is going to be the one who puts the crystal back together and saves the day, basically.
Yep. And that's why you don't see really any other Gelflings, because the Skeksis killed them all. Just eradicate.
Except for he runs into one.
Yes, on his trip back from Algra's. So he goes see Algra. She's whacking crazy, and she's like, I don't even remember which shard is what.
Yeah.
But he's looking him over. A lot of inner monologue. Not as much
Yeah.
as Dune, like the original Dune, but a lot of inner monologue. So he finally picks the right one, but then all of a sudden, they're attacked by these creatures that are working for the Skeksis. But Jin gets out. Oh, but first, because the emperor of the Skeksis has died, they must choose a new one.
Yeah.
And it's between General and Chamberlain that are going to go at each other, but they do trial by stone.
They should have done trial by basketball because Wilt would have won that.
And pretty much what they do is they swing swords at a stone, and then whoever breaks the stone is the winner.
Yeah. Why would Chamberlain, like, he's just dumb from the beginning? Like,
Yeah.
that other guy was obviously stronger than him. Why would he pick that?
When I see Chamberlain in this movie, I think of Cobra Commander from
Yeah.
G.I. Joe, the movie.
Yep.
So during his adventures, Jin finds another Gelfling named Kira, and they do a dreamscape where they share each other's memories.
Basically like a Vulcan mind meld.
Yes, or Pacific Rim. What is it called? Drifting.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen that in a while, but yeah.
I love that movie. I just wish there was more robot scenes. But back to the Dark Crystal. So found out that Kira was raised by podlings, which the podlings are also used as slaves by the Skeksis, and they drain their life force to make them into zombie-like creatures and to help kind of recharge the dark crystal. They spend a night with the podlings, but then they are attacked once again, and they got to leave, and all those podlings are captured while they get out. And then all of a sudden they discover the prophecy inscribed, as Chamberlain talks about it to them, as they discovered Chamberlain, where the prophecy says, with single shines, when single shines the triple sun, what was shrouded and undone shall be whole, the two made one, by Gelfling hand, or else by none. So
Yeah, in other words, if a Gelfling doesn't do it, it's not going to get done.
yes, and they need it to get done.
Which is why they're always trying to kill the Gelflings.
Yes. And then they start the Mystics are starting their trip to the castle, and you're like, oh no, what is going on there?
Yeah.
And because I don't know if you picked up on it, but the Emperor of the Skeksis died, and then the Mystics leader died.
Died. Yeah. And
Woo.
then another one's going to die, and then another one of the Mystics is going to
Yeah.
disappear. What's
Oh,
going on?
Skeksis gets his hand cut, and then the Mystic gets his hand cut. But
Wow.
they get to the castle on land striders, which are the most scariest looking creatures in the world.
Yes, they're terrifying.
But they get there, and then they're trying to extract Kira's essence as well, because that's what they do to the
They
podlings.
think it can make them younger too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then pretty much Kira gets stabbed, but then but Jin finishes the job, connects it, and then you find out that the Skeksis and the Mystics come together, and they were one being that accidentally shattered the thing thousands of years ago, upsetting the world's balance. They rebuilt Kara with gratitude, the sun, and then leaving the castle, crystal light, like it's a crystal castle now instead of some nasty place. That's pretty much the gist.
That's the movie.
That's the movie.
I think we begin this though by talking about how incredible the puppetry work is in this. The special effects, like you were kind of alluding to at the beginning, are that I was watching this in awe of, like, man, I think watching them make this movie would be really fascinating.
Yeah, the world creation in this is just amazing. Even when they show before Jin gets into like that forest area, all the different animals and plants, and everything like that, you're like, wow, there was a sense of appreciation you didn't appreciate, like you said, as a child. But as an adult, you're like, wow, this is some really great stuff. And they're just thinking about how many people had to be a part of this to puppeteer every last bit and get
like how did they build these sets to make this work? On top of that, it's just so fascinating to me. I was literally in all of that stuff. But at the very beginning of this movie, they have a narrator, and I knew we were in trouble when the narrator has to do it. Needs a lot of times in a movie, if the narrator has to do a lot of heavy lifting at the beginning to set the stage, I sometimes get a little worried. And this narrator talked for what seemed like 10 minutes. I'm exaggerating, but he talked for a while.
I will go back because I enjoy kind of like the narration, but I think the best movies that do it really good, where they kind of explain things or they go back and show you, is the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. Like in the beginning of
those are perfect examples of how to do it.
Yeah, those are great. Sometimes I'll just watch those and then turn it off. I'm not even gonna lie, because I just like that part of it. But the narrator does go on for like ever, and we talked about this, and which alludes into the story is lacking. There was a lot of more world building than say story. Now, if you watch the Netflix show and then you watch this, which they canceled after one season, which I have no idea why, because that was the absolutely best. I think that was Dark Crystal Resistance.
Is it like a prequel to this?
Yes, it's a prequel, and you'll start to understand more and more on this as well. But this is just it's very, like I said, very lacking in story.
Question. When we first meet Jen, why is he nude playing a flute?
I think that's because of the waterfall. Maybe he was bathing.
Yeah, but they don't show that. Like, show him that's why he's naked. Like, just let him take a bath. But no, he's just naked playing a flute. Like, what? That's in the woods.
The only note that I had for this, because like I said, there's other parts, but I remember mostly watching this, is that it's very depressing.
Yes, it's it's called Dark Crystal, but it's a dark feeling movie overall.
Yeah. Oh, it's I can't even talk right now. The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance.
Okay, that's the Netflix show.
That's the Netflix show, and I guess there's been some comics and pre-novels as well. But I only know pretty much about which the Netflix show was great. Check out the Netflix show and then watch this. And then I think you get a little bit more of appreciation and understanding of what's going on.
Yeah.
So they kind of didn't do it right. I think
that my biggest I don't even want to say issue. It's just my biggest like what I wish had happened in this is that these characters are so fascinating and interestingly designed that I wish there were more weird, wacky characters that show up. But there's really not very many, right? There's two main races, the three main races in this, if you count the Gelflings.
four.
Ooh. Oh yeah.
Jeez, Johnny, just because they're slaves and get their essence taken away.
I can't remember their names. Podlings. There's not many. I guess you're just so used to Jim Henson having like so many different characters who are vastly different from each other. That doesn't really happen here. I think this movie is asking a lot of its audience. Does that make any sense?
Yes, to be able to stay engaged with everything.
Yeah, I caught myself drifting away a few times as I was watching this.
Oh, and also female Gelflings can fly. Male Gelflings.
Oh yeah. Well, which is fine. I don't care. That's cool.
I'm telling you, if you got Netflix, watch it. You'll learn more like of the different Gelfling clans. I think there's like 4 or 5 of them, and then you'll just learn.
I do. I think her little dog's pretty awesome, though. I will say that.
Yeah,
that meatball of fur. He was pretty cool.
I like the Landstriders, but they were horrifying looking.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, on
like,
both accounts.
Kind of a crazy fever dream, but like I said, there's not much to the story. It's easily summed up in what, 2 minutes?
Yeah,
like it's nothing really integral on anything at all, other than hey, 1,000 years ago, a powerful crystal cracked, and 2 races appeared.
Yeah, it's helped by how great the puppet work is. That helps this movie a lot.
That is its saving grace.
Yeah.
And then to see the world, that's the only time to really look up to be engaged in anything.
Yeah.
Because there's not too much explaining of anything.
Like if you had told me, hey, Jim Henson wants to do like his own sort of homage to Lord of the Rings, I'd be like, oh man, sign me up for that. That sounds incredible. And you could almost describe this as sort of that in a way, but it just never ever reaches those heights. It's really honestly, it's fairly disappointing to me as an adult. Me as a kid, I love this movie, but me as an adult, I'm like, man, I felt very lacking as I was watching it.
I think that's the difference. Like as a kid, you're looking more for the world than not so much the story.
Right.
And with this now, it's like we said, it's all world building. It's more concentrating on seeing what the plants do and how the mystics move and how they get the Skeksis to look like they're eating and drinking, and then like the little rats in the castle.
Yeah, all that stuff is fascinating.
But then you get into the story and there's not much dialogue. Like even you said in the beginning, the narrator is the majority of the.
I think this is the movie. I could be wrong, but I believe in a documentary about Henson when we were talking about this movie, that when he originally made this, like it was all in a different made up language.
Oh yeah.
And when they screen it, they're like, you can't do that. You have to.
Yeah. Like Like when the Emperor Skeksis is dying, and the one guy is just like kneel,
Yeah.
bow. Like there's like he sounds like that, and then you got Chamberlain that
Who's always good? "Mm,
yes, and there's a lot of
mm."
noises. Like even
Yeah.
with the Mystics do that all
Yeah. Yeah.
all.
I go how you go like,
At the doctor's office with the tongue depressor.
yeah. Oh,
But
that's not where that goes.
I guess there was supposed to be a sequel.
I I bet he had ideas for a sequel. Like I I just wish he had fleshed out the story more for this. Because obviously Jim Henson was an incredibly creative guy.
Yeah.
Uh I really am very interested to go back and rewatch Labyrinth. It's been a long time since I've seen that. To see if it still holds up for me. Because when I was a kid, I liked that movie too, but I don't know. But I haven't watched that movie in 20 years at least.
Lambert's not as bad. I think I've watched that
It's
recently.
also got the power of David Bowie to help it.
Yeah, I think that's where they were I think they were talking about that in the Henson thing, that he learned that you got to have maybe some type of human element sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's where I think, what is that, Jennifer Connelly and David
Yeah.
Bowie. Even though when
Yep.
you realize how old David Bowie is and then how old Jennifer Connelly is in that, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't think we could make
Yeah.
it to
Hold up. Wait a minute.
that. Don't put anything in it.
Future Andrew, edit that out.
Oh, I'm not editing it.
Just put a beep there. People have to wonder what you said. What did they say?
I can't do math, but I think there's only like 14 there. Yeah, I want to go back and probably watch Lambeth, because I'm feeling Lambeth has more story.
Yeah, I have fond memories of it, but again, I had fond memories of this. So I don't,
I mean, this movie won awards,
it should win awards for, especially for, again,
but it's all special effects.
yeah, that's where this movie shines.
Like it won at a film festival, because this is also directed by two directors, and Jim Henson and Frank Oz.
Yeah.
But it was nominated Best Special Effects, Best Fantasy Film. It won in 1983 at the Saturn Awards. I guess you could chalk that up. I'm not sure. I'm not a film
Yeah.
guy, but
And who knew the car had an awards for movies? It's pretty amazing.
they didn't even make those. Yeah. Oh, I thought it was the Sega system.
Oh yeah. They updated to the Dreamcast Awards.
Trevor and I are still in that support group for people that thought the Sega Saturn would be a better buy than the PlayStation.
No, I'm with you.
Oh, are you? You got a Saturn?
No, I wanted one, but Trevor had one, had already gotten one. So I was like, I'm gonna get a PlayStation then, so that way we'd both have a
Oh,
system.
guess
But then I
you
think
made the right
his
choice.
then I think Derek ended up getting a PlayStation as well, if I remember right. But yeah,
Guess who made the right choice?
sadly it was me. But I do love the Saturn a lot.
I think
Fond memories playing on that thing.
yeah, but I think that's pretty much it. It's great special effects and very lacking in story.
Yeah, it's that really attractive lady that you meet, like, man, oh gosh, she's so beautiful, and then you start talking to her and you realize you got nothing in common.
Yeah, or there's nothing in common, or you've like, oh, why am I talking to you?
Yeah, there's nothing here.
There's
Yeah,
no conversation or anything like
yeah,
that.
we're not connecting. Yeah,
But
that's
Johnny,
how I felt with this, which made me sad. I really wanted to like this way more than what I did.
I did too. I still enjoy. I think I enjoy it more because I watched the Netflix series. Because, like I said, I'm
Yeah,
such a
I have not
geek
seen that.
myself. If you
Yeah.
watch the Netflix series, this makes more sense. There's more of a fleshed out story, and there's more backstory to pull back and see what fully is going on in this. So I think that's why. But Johnny,
I will say also that it's sort of a testament to how much faith people had in Henson that this got made at all. Because if you break it down, it's just like it's a Jim Henson thing. It doesn't have the Muppets in it, and it's kind of weird.
It's very weird.
It's sort of like a late Adult Swim show. When Adult Swim used to put on they'll make these shows that are more weird than they're funny. That's sort of what this was for me.
Yeah. But Johnny, who would you play or voice or whatever you want to say? Because they're all puppets.
Yeah. I guess it'll be the dog.
The dog?
Yeah, the meatball guy, the little meatball dog. I don't
still-
remember his name. He has a name. She calls him something. I don't remember what it is.
Like Olga's bored kind of she's more interesting in this where you're like, I'm not too sure. You watch the Netflix show, Olga is way better.
I mean, she was probably the most interesting character on this to me. Maybe I'd be the Chamberlain so I can keep making that weird noise.
I'd be Olga, I guess.
All right. We got good parts there. What are we rating this out of?
I don't know.
Let's rate it out of How many would you give this out of 5, Andrew?
I would give it 3 out of 5. Just because, like I said, I've seen the Netflix series. I understand this a little bit more, but the visual effects really carry it. But if I'm in your boat, I probably would have maybe scored it a little bit lower because there's nothing here. It's visual effects and a very little story involved.
Yeah, I'm going to give us 2.5 out of 5 and completely the 2.5 is so much because of the actual effects and the world that they build, because that is phenomenal. Like, I cannot stress enough how incredible that is and how amazing and work of art the puppetry is in this movie. It's incredible, but the story is just very very lacking, and it had a lot of potential, I think, and they just didn't really live up to the world that it had built.
Do you think it was just so much focused on the world building and like making sure those puppets were correct that when they finally
had to be a lot of work, right? There's no way that was easy.
And then plus two, like you said, they had to pretty much rewrite the whole entire script because he had it in some other language. And
yeah.
I don't know. It was just it's still fun to watch, but it's not an everyday type of like, oh boy, I get to go watch the Dark Crystal. I would rather watch Netflix show. I was as you can tell, I'm very high on this Netflix show.
Yeah, you've mentioned it quite often. Which go to our Patreon so I can get Netflix and watch it. We're gonna need a lot more to do that. We can't even afford Ghost of Mr. Chicken currently. So
nope. Yeah, it ran 1 season for 10 episodes. Yes, you hear that a lot in there.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
It's about 3 Gelflings and their inspire rebellion after discovering horrifying secrets behind pretty much the Sketskis.
Yeah.
So
Sketskis. Wayne Sketskis.
Well, that is it.
We go to the Sketskis, the Wayne Sketskis.
You could find us wherever you get your podcast. Go check out the Facebook page and other social medias. You can tell Johnny is running out of stuff as he just making random jokes out of anything.
Yeah. I already made Wilt Chamberlain, so now we got to go with Wayne Sketsky.
With that being said, what may not be nostalgia for you may be nostalgia for some.